I'm here with Grant Ventura at his home. I met Grant in August 20th, Robert Plant's birthday, ironically, in 2010 at Janine's birthday, a friend of mine. It was her 50th, and I was filming it. And after they played, I just asked Grant, could I film their band again? He said, sure. And I said, where are you playing next week? And he said, Blacktown RSL, which was, both of these were right near my place. So I ended up filming the band Zeppelin Live Australia for the next 6 gigs. And then there was a flood up in Queensland, and the musicians got a benefit together called Floodstock, and Grant's band played there, and I met all the musicians, and that's where everything started, mainly from Grant's band and then from that show. So Grant, just for now, what have you been doing the last 5 years?
Ooh, the last 5 years. Well, I moved on from the Zeppelin show. I had maybe 15, 20 good years out of that. I think 3 shows in total. Kind of got a bit sort of hemmed in playing Robert Plant. It was a great character and I really enjoyed playing the guy. It was really challenging, but I thought might be something else to do. So one day I'm wandering through Ventura FB, just coincidentally looking for somewhere to eat, when I run into an old friend of mine, a guitar player from my old band, an original band I had sort of back in the 90s. He said he was looking for a singer and he wanted to put a band together, and we had a bit of a chat and kind of found out that a lot of our ideas were the same. We sort of had a similar sort of pedigree and background anyway. So after a little while we decided that we'd put together a band called British Rock. The idea being that we can play pretty much anything that's British. We kind of lean into a sort of a larger than life show. And it's been a wonderful experience. The last sort of 5-6 years with this has been wonderful. We can vary the set, we can change the show. It's a completely different dynamic to the old Zeppelin. I've also done a little bit of TV work, and at the moment I'm writing a song, coincidentally with Dave from British Rock, for an upcoming film, so stay tuned for that.
And what's the film based on?
This is going to be hard. I can't really tell you because it's going to be giving it away, but essential to say that it involves a rock band, a mystery, and some murders. So how does that sound?
Yeah, sounds great. So who's in the band? I know you've had a few musicians.
This band I've got Dave Bover, who's from Deep Purple and The Queen Show. We've got Sean Reid, who's over from New Zealand. He's sort of come out here and settled to play with the band. Got Les Hall on the drums, who's also from the Deep Purple Show. He also plays with Fat Manzini Music. And we've got on violin a lady by the name of Beck Jake. She's a classically trained violinist and a soprano, and we've kind of added that element to the show, adding the violin and the guitars to the one show. It's kind of give us an extra dimension. So that's sort of the lineup at the moment. We had a few changes at the beginning, but sort of for the last 5 years, that's it. That's the British Rock family.
So Grant, when you were growing up, most of us listened to the radio and records. Did you have anyone in the family as well that was musically inclined, or was it just listening to records and the radio that got you?
Exactly that. Neither of my parents are particularly musically inclined, which is odd because I have 3 siblings and they're all artists. The brother after me is a singer and a producer. The brother after him, he was a commercial artist. He's now a businessman. And my sister is an actor. She's been a professional actor all her life. But the strange thing is my parents are actually sports people. Both Mum and Dad were elite athletes. Dad was a triathlete and Mum sort of did a lot of long distance running in the bush, that sort of thing. She did 6-foot track, something like that. So it was never really, music and art was never really a focus, but we did, when I was about 6, my dad did go out and buy a kind of a quite expensive player. And as a consequence, he kind of bought a lot of random records. Now, for some odd chance, some of those records that he bought were actually really good. He bought a John Lennon album, Neil Diamond, there was Johnny Cash, and it kind of gave us a grounding, and that with the radio kind of ubiquitous, like on all the time in my house, I think we kind of absorbed it. But the strange thing was that I came to music through sport. When I was a kid, I was a nipper, and one of the things about nippers is the little kids running around with their little surf hats on. It's quite iconic, you know, Australian lifesavers and cute little kids. And I kind of found myself after a while being shoved in front of cameras to do this kind of thing. And after sort of some years of this learning to show off in front of cameras, a friend of mine says, "Hey, I need a singer in my band. Do you want to be it?" And I thought, yeah, this is a great way to rebel, you know, to rebel against the, you know, society that I so hated at the time. So join the band I did, and seriously, no one ever complained about when I sang, so I just kept doing it, and I sort of thought, I'm going to keep doing this until somebody says, "Mate, it's time for you to shut up," and I'm like, okay, I'll walk away grateful. So that's kind of my background.
And what music were you listening to on the radio?
As much as I hate to admit it, what was probably on 2SM at the time, although I'm not really ashamed of it now, like, Tony Mitchell did an interview with him the other week. I was really like Sherbet. I thought they're a great band. I like Skyhooks. I like Slade and The Sweet. And the thing that those bands all had in common, the thing that kind of grabbed me, was they had this sort of larger-than-life presentation. It was a show. It wasn't just a bunch of guys standing there looking at their sneakers, you know, being uninterested in you. They really sort of participated with the audience. And I think the crowning thing, the thing that kind of crystallised this, was I saw Queen play Bohemian Rhapsody, and I thought, that's it. That's how you do this. This is, you know, if you want to talk to people, and or at least talk to me, that was the way to do it. And the element that really appealed to me was the showmanship, the larger than life, and the lights and the bombastic sound. And to the best of my ability, I've tried to recreate that without ripping off Queen, sort of thing. But anyway, here we are.
And then Zeppelin and those type of bands, how did you first hear about them? They weren't really on the radio.
No. I have a vague recollection when I was about 6. I think I heard the Immigrant Song on an old Bakelite radio when we were on holidays, and I remember walking through the kitchen and hearing that scream, you know, that stop, what the hell is that? And sort of the song ended and I went on with my life. Many years later, I ran into a friend who said, "Oh, I've got this great band, you should listen to them." Yeah, okay, great. So on goes Led Zeppelin, and I must admit I'm kind of hooked after that. It was, again, like Queen, it was kind of like a cathartic moment where you think, this really speaks to me. This really speaks to me in a way that other music doesn't. And again, without trying to rip them off, you know, I've tried to incorporate that as best I can in my life. And the utter hypocrisy of saying that in being in a Led Zeppelin band is not lost on me.
So when did the Zeppelin band start? You said 20 years.
Well, the one you're familiar with, Zeppelin Live, that was together for 15 years. I was with Andrew and Luke and the boys for that era. But prior to that, I was, again, just a random chance. A friend of a friend rang me and said, "I heard you're a singer in a band." I went, "Yeah, sure. Have you got a gig at the moment?" "No, I don't." I said, "Would you like to come and audition to be in a Led Zeppelin show?" And honestly, I'd never given an ounce of thought. Like, tribute bands weren't sort of something that I'd really done before. I thought, okay, I'll go along, and I went to the audition. It was, you know, audition went well, and eventually got the job. And I thought, okay, well, this is kind of a different career trajectory, or a different sort of way I'm going to play. And I thought, well, I might as well try and incorporate the character, or try and at least look and act the part when I'm on stage. And well, 15 years later, I think I might have got some of it right.
Because that's right, Andrew and Luke on drums and Luke on bass.
Yeah,
that's when I met you.
Yeah,
that was really a tight Zeppelin outfit.
It was, and it was funny because it was I think I was about the third, fourth singer they might have had. I think
because Andrew started that.
Yeah, Andrew's been the only consistent member all the way through, as I understand it. There's been a revolving group of people that have gone through it. It's been some really really good musicians like I said, Luke Bjazovich, the bass player. He was exceptional. Dylan, he was another great player. Ben, I think he's still with the band. Of course, Luke and Andrew's a great Jimmy Page. Matt Steele's the new singer. I know Matt. I've worked with Matt on any number of things before, and I honestly couldn't think of a better guy to do the job. I really think that is an inspired choice. Matt's probably going to do it a little bit differently to me, but everybody does it a little bit differently, slightly differently. But from what I've seen of it, it's a really, really good outfit. They really sort of recruited the right guy, this one.
And what about Alabaster Hand? How did that? That's your big band.
Oh, that's kind of my one claim to how can I put this to rock and roll excess. Back in the 90s, this Dave Bova character I keep talking about, the guitar player, I was with a group of 3 people who were looking to form a band, and we had in mind forming something like a glam rock band along the lines of Poison or Motley Crue, something like that. Anyway, we found Dave, and the problem being is he'd literally just migrated to Australia about 2 or 3 months before and knew about 6 words of English, but the guy was so good. But look, just give him a job, we'll teach him English, we'll work out. So first we taught him the swear words, and then we taught him, the proper words like give me a beer and shut up, you idiot, and that sort of thing. But with the other 2 fellas, Daryl Gooch Wilson, we've been playing together before in another couple of bands, and the drummer Pete Field, he was a recruit from where we were working at the moment, and we later found another guy, guy called Kev Charlton, absolutely completed the band as a rhythm guitarist. We did a lot of gigs around Sydney. It was a really high energy band, and we were young and stupid, and sort of the bubble on that kind of thing, that glam rock kind of burst in Australia with the advent of Nirvana, and we sort of looked around and thought, guys, we're a bit pointless now. So we sort of went off in other directions, but we've played a few times and just quietly recording something. So just watch this space.
And where were you playing at? What was the
well, probably everywhere, but the legendary gig is strangely enough just down the road here at Karela Golf Club on a New Year's Eve. Now, I can't say too much because there are still pending court cases, but needless to say, we had the riot squad, the drug squad, and the dog squad all turn up to our events with the press, and it was the most deliciously controversial thing that's ever happened to me, and it was wonderful. But like I said, for obvious legal reasons, we're not going to say too much.
So where did you grow up? So you went to Swinburne University, did a psychology degree?
Yeah, finished that a couple of year ago. I never really did it to do a clinical practice. I more did it as a part of, I don't know, I kind of figured that if you leave your brain idle long enough, it atrophies. I don't know how much science there is.
Psych to do it.
Yes, psychologically speaking. Yeah. No, honestly, I find an inactive brain boring. So it was quite a commitment. It took a lot of years, and I was doing it like part time. But I got through it eventually, and I'm glad. But in terms of any clinical practice, I don't really think so. It's just handy information to have. I've spent most of my adult life studying, so like that's just another part of it.
Modern history as well.
Yeah, modern history. Modern history was a little deceptive. I actually studied the history of modern warfare. It was just a personal interest. I was interested in battle tactics and, the politics before it. You know how they sort of say most men, if you can ask them, they'll think once a day about the Roman Empire. There's some truth in that, except I kind of expanded it. It's either like the Roman Empire, World War One, World War Two, the Vietnam War, or model trains. It's something like that. It's just something in the male psyche. And I thought, I might as well learn it good from proper books.
So you talk about other bands you played in. They didn't last long?
Look,
Or they weren't. They were just between friends.
We could tell the truth. Maybe they just sucked. Maybe they were just terrible. I've played in a lot of bands. Look, bands are a bit like plays. They've only got a certain season. They only last a certain time, and then people kind of get a bit bored with it, and you reinvent it. And that's what art is. If we continue to do and play the same thing, it's boring for people and it's boring for the artists. So I've done a couple of cover bands. I did a show band for a while. We were kind of, it's hard to describe. We're doing more cabaret sort of stuff. It was three other singers, including myself. That was a great band. We had a lot of fun. Again, we did some movie soundtracks. I've done a couple of other throw together bands. The oddest thing I've ever done is I had to play Danny Zuko in a Grease show, which, clearly I'm really suited for this character, obviously, but with a lot of wigs, and we got away with it. But how it was explained to me is that, would you like to be Danny Zuko in Grease? It says the phone call. And I go, okay. What have I got to do? So I just learned the lines and sing the song. Okay, this is great. So I'd never seen Grease. I didn't really know very much about it. So I went and bought the film and I put it on and I played it. And I rang the person offering me the work and I said, you do realise that I'm a middle-aged man and this is about a high school kid. She said, go and watch the film again. So I watched the film again, and when I rang her, she says, he's not a high school kid, John Travolta, is he? I said, yeah, but I'm even older than that again. And she says, yes, we know. And so how we're going to rewrite the show is this is the school reunion. So, okay, so a blonde guy with blue eyes is going to play an Italian in a film of in a musical of a film of a play. Wow, that's a stretch, but we got away with it and the audience loved it and I got to sing, Grease Lightning, so hey, winner.
How do they find out about you to ask you for these type of things?
It's oddly, that particular one is through theatre sports. I did a season of theatre sports going back into the 90s, predominantly because as a front man, you have to be able to work out how to keep an audience entertained when, someone sheds a string or a skin or, a light falls down. You've got to be able to improv around that kind of problem, like that real world problem. So I thought, okay, let's learn how to improvise. My sister was involved with the theatre sports people, so I did it with her and we ended up forming a team, and one of the team members, our little theatre sports team, was this lady, Anthea, and Anthea still gets around. She plays in an ABBA show, I think, up in the Central Coast, like a really good, I think it's Fabba, yeah, a really, really good ABBA show. So my long-term friendship with her kind of got me the part, and you can't see this, but behind the camera, the cameraman is kind of smirking at me, shaking his head, and he's absolutely right to do so. He is absolutely right to do so.
And have you had other roles been offered to you, or?
Yeah, there's a couple of things I sort of was offered, but I didn't really want to do. I got offered to do some video work for a company doing training films, and I just thought, oh no, look, just shoot me. I've seen those training films, and I think it's not really worth the effort, and it's not really going to get much in the way of residuals or much in the way of, how to put it simply, once a company trains the people, they usually move on to a different sort of policy or thought in the next 5 years, so it's redundant, and you end up sitting in someone's drawer to get chucked out. So that's that sort of thing I don't do. Although I do during some times of, gee, I'm struggling to pay the bills here, I did do some phone on hold music. Like, hi, thank you for calling Smith and Jones Proprietary Limited. We really appreciate your call. Please hold. We'll be with you in a moment. Okay, so, yeah, that's my true confession.
And what about with singing? Do you play harmonica?
Yeah, but poorly. I can play a few things, but not to a point where I'd play them for anybody publicly. How we used to do the harmonica was I'd play it, and then they'd just rearranged the song around me not playing it anymore. So what's the song, Bring It On Home? It's got the harmonica in it. Yeah. Somehow or other, Andrew was and Luke were clever enough to arrange the song without, oh, we don't need you to play the harmonica now, mate. We've taken care of that. You got enough to do. I was like, oh, thanks, guys. It's like, thank God he's not playing it.
And did you ever think of playing guitar?
I do, but it's how can I put this? There are so many people around me that play guitar better than me. It seems like to me a bit of a waste of time. I mean, I can play the bass a little bit, but not like, let's put it this way, if we're on stage and our bass player, had to walk off stage, I couldn't take his place. I can't do it. But nah, I think don't stick to the script I know. Stick to what I'm good at.
And it's a lot. And what about other bands? Have they asked you on the spot, like rung up and said, could you fill in this weekend? Or...
Yeah, oh God. I can talk out of school now because I think it's more than 10 years ago. I got a phone call on New Year's Eve, the 30th of December. And the question was, can you play Bjorn in an ABBA show on New Year's Eve? And I said, couple of things. I don't really play the guitar that well, and secondly, I don't know any ABBA material, and there is no way on God's earth I'm going to learn it in that amount of time. So thanks, but I can't. You should reconsider is the comeback. Why? I said, you don't actually have to do anything. What you've actually got to do is stand there with a guitar and a wig and mime. I said, oh, you've got to be kidding. I said, that's cheating. I'm really hard up for the day, so I took it. So I turn up at this gig, and I know why they'd said this. This is well before the responsible service of alcohol. Now, there would have been a room full of about 50, mostly females, between 20 and 30. And I have never seen so many intoxicated people so intoxicated in one place. It literally didn't matter what I did. They had no idea what was playing. They were drinking copious amounts of alcohol. There were people laying everywhere, just completely passed out. And at some point during the gig, this Bjorn wig that I had on, the elastic underneath the skull cap underneath sprung off. And so the Bjorn wig falls off, and I'm standing there in a skull cap, and I swear to God, nobody noticed. Nobody said a damn thing. So I kind of took my money and ran. But like I said, times was tough. It's not. I don't really get to see a lot of bands, unfortunately. It's one of the sort of the drawbacks. But the bands that I have seen, sort of ones in my genre, like cover tribute shows sort of thing. I've sort of been to a few countries and seen a lot of bands in the world, like the local bands there, and ours are just as good, if not better. And we have to be, because we're such a small population. And the competition being so fierce amongst musicians, I mean, we've still got people from the 60s still playing live, people who are on things like band standards still playing live. Although I wouldn't call those sort of people or anybody competition, it's fairly tough to get your name out there. So you've got to be really, really good. And I think the bands I've seen are of a really competent and high level, and I think competitive with anything that I've seen in the world. 2 or 3 Bon Jovi shows, any number of AC/DC shows, and they all seem to do fine. But the thing of it is, you kind of see from time to time, I used to notice it with Led Zeppelin, is that it takes a lot of work. It took all of the Zeppelin bands I was in maybe about 3-4 months of really, really solid rehearsals to get it to a point where it was show worthy. And I find a lot of the Zeppelin wannabe, or the Zeppelin, I want to join this circuit as a Zeppelin band. It didn't do the homework, wrong instruments. They don't, they change the tunings, and people aren't stupid. The best example of it is I walked out off a stage once, and the lady says, "Look, that's very, very nice, but you got the Nebworth shirt with something or other, 72 pants, and so you've mixed your costumes there." And I thought, wow, like that's an attention to detail I never thought I'd contend with. But you know, God bless them. They're just, all they're doing is trying to keep the spirit, you know, keep the spirit of something beautiful alive. So, yeah.
And you were talking about Slade and Skyhawks and Sherbet. Were you into the earlier bands, the Australian bands, like the 60s and 70s, or were they a different type of style of music that you weren't really?
It was more a case of being probably born like about maybe 5 years too late. I was, by way of comparison, when I was 12 or 11, I think Sherbet made How's That. So that, you know, that's kind of a mark in time. I picked up a little bit later on a couple of bands like Black Feather. They were long gone before I was sort of, you know, able to see them. There's another band got around called Finch. They were local shy band. Yeah. Back sort of in the time frame we're talking about, it was tyranny of distance. I mean, we were so far from from everywhere. We really didn't make much of a mark. It was difficult to make a mark. But I think with the advent of, you know, technology, electronics and digital technology, that we've kind of bridged that gap now. We can kind of reach the world. Like, I come across stuff. The first album I ran was A Night at the Opera, and I consciously, you know, saved and bought that. It cost me $5.99. Yeah, it was a long time ago. But the second band I actually like consciously made a decision was The Sweet, and it was because I had an album I think it's called Give Us a Wink, and it had a little kind of pull sleeve up where the eye winked. 11 years old, you think that's pretty cool. So you purchase the album on the strength of the cover and put it on, and now I'm hooked. You know, still one of my favourite bands.
Yeah, I like The Sweet.
Yeah, it's funny. Just I think it's kind of your parents, your older siblings, and your peers have an influence on you. But the problem with me is I didn't have any older siblings, so I had to sort of make a lot of the discoveries myself. So I think that's made me more curious, and my personal tastes are, you know, pretty broad. You know, I like rock and roll and other stuff as well. You know.
And once you got a car, the radio,
and once you get a car with FM in it, as you know, as you
started with 2SM, and then Triple J came around, and then Triple M, and then it really changes.
Well, there's digital radio now. When after rehearsals, when we sort of have some dinner after rehearsals together, we cook a meal, and digital radio, and it's amazing. We listen to jazz fusion, and there's like traditional jazz and blues. It's like amazing, limited only by your imagination.
And what is your style of music that you really like? Do you have a style?
In terms of,
I grew up liking blues, you know.
Yeah, I got to twist this one out a bit, but I'll be honest. It's honestly, I get the biggest blast I get is like stuff like glam rock. I like the theatre of it all. I really form the view strongly that you can't be boring on stage. It's a waste of an opportunity, and the bands I like most are the most gregarious. I can even see redeeming features in the Village People. I think it's great because it's larger than life. You know, that's my kind of favourite music. Whether I play that kind of music well, or whether that's the sort of music that is best for me to go out on stage and you know, make a living out of, I'll let other people judge.
And with British rock, well, name a few people that you're playing. What songs you're playing?
We like to take a scope, because anything from like The Who, we play a Sam Brown song, Stop, I play ELO, Black Sabbath, do a little bit of Beatles in there.
David Bowie?
Enough David Bowie to fill a warehouse. You know, Queen always get a run, Zeppelin always get a run. Deep Purple, we've taken a bit of a liberty with Deep Purple. Instead of John Lord's sort of keyboard, we play it on a violin. I'm pretty impressed with that. What else? Do some Duran songs. Do us a few like little surprise songs. Do Come On Eileen for a bit of fun. You know, because we got enough singers to sort of do that. Those lovely harmonies do. And the audience is as cliched as it is, and as corny as it sounds, people love it. They really buy into it. You can hear them at the end of the night. They've just enough ambience in the room, just enough encouragement to sort of sing along with us, and it's a wonderful thing. It's one of the best feelings in the world. To sort of stand and think, well, you don't really need me. I'll just let you lot sing the song. That's the moment for me.
That's the British rock, old British music scene's always had an appeal worldwide, hasn't it? Going right back to the 50s and 60s. And,
I mean,
the Shadows and you know,
oh yeah.
And what that led to, and then the Beatles, and on and on and on.
It's kind of this this great circle, if you like, of ideas that just kind of get passed around and rearranged. I used to have all sorts of problems before, not massive first world problems, but the problem being is that I'm doing someone else's music. I'm literally, not in a sense ripping them off, but I'm borrowing someone else's talent to do this. And I had this particularly with the Led Zeppelin thing for a while. And I saw Robert Plant go on TV and say, look, it's just a great big long line of beggars and thieves. And I thought, right, vindication. And honestly, I've never felt bad about it since. It's like, play it sincerely, play it as well as you can, give the due credit to whoever did whatever they did.
Well, look at them with Willie Dixon.
Yeah, and I mean, God bless him, but did Willie Dixon rip that off someone else? Is it influenced by? And it's such a grey line.
And I saw it.
And this, it's just funny how it works. When I was one of the first bands I was in, we were just a bunch of kids in a garage, really, and fancied ourselves as songwriters, and away we play. And so, hey, come and have a listen to this new song we wrote, full of, pride and ego. Yeah, good song, guys, except that middle bit. Yeah, he said, that's Stairway to Heaven. And we stopped and we played it again. We thought, he's right. And there was no intention to rip it off. I doubt any of us, some of the band didn't even know what Stairway to Heaven was, but nevertheless, we'd come across the middle bit of Stairway to Heaven. So, there's stealing and there's stealing.
And these initial bands you played in, was there any talented musicians that went on or are still around?
Yeah, well, Darryl Wilson still plays around. A really talented blues player in the first band, the Hobbits, Dave Maddock. He was brilliant. A guy called Russell Shooter played with us in the Hobbits, and he went on to play with Psychedelic Turnbuckles. They were this comet of a band, sort of rock and roll themed wrestling. Who'd have thought? Apart from that, no, not really. They've all been miserable failures.
Oh, really?
I'm joking.
So the Hobbits, that's an interesting name. Was that when was that started?
We formed the Hobbits in about 1984, 83, 84.
Original band?
Yeah, it was an original band. We even had a film clip on the ABC at one point. Oh. The song lasted at 1 minute and 59 seconds. And we knew that we couldn't get it played on the ABC unless it was over 2 minutes. So we ran back to this video editing company in Penrith and we said, we need an extra something on the tape so the ABC will play it. These guys weren't terribly interested in us, let us say. And so what they did is right at the end of the tape, they and this is how old is a tape, they spliced in what looked like a skull and crossbones that lasted for a second. And we got that played. So if you ever see that clip on the ABC, there's a skull and crossbones in the last section. That's just to meet the ABC standard at its time.
What was the show?
Rage, I think, or whatever the equivalent of Rage was, where drunk, stoned people eating pizza watch TV at 3 in the morning.
Do you have a film clip or?
It's on YouTube. Yeah, it's like everything. I probably have a channel where we're going to gather all of our stuff into one spot soon. So that's kind of what I've been working on the last couple of weeks, is to bring all of this disparate stuff from like Rebecca and Les and Sean and everybody, other side projects, and bring it in all into one umbrella. That includes like British rock and Alabaster Hand and any other sort of side projects that are going on. Sort of how I figure is that if we're all in one spot, there's a better chance they're going to see something else. Whereas if it's in disparate places on social media and what have you.
And do you see any of those bands members, like from The Hobbit?
Well, yeah. All of the above, and as recently as I think we're all of us, both the bands were together about. Well, in January, one of us had a significant birthday. We all went down to Goulburn for the weekend for a surprise party.
Oh, that was the one where you were tripped. Oh,
yeah, that was strange. I wasn't expecting actually to play.
And you got to sing, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I literally no idea and no rehearsal. I'm standing at exactly the opposite end of the room of the stage, ironically with the bands. Hear my name called. I thought, oh, okay. So walk to the front, on stage. Oh God, here we go. So the good thing is that's the beautiful thing about alcohol is it dumbs people down presently and affects their memory in the future. So yeah, it was great, gang. Trust me, I was terrific.
Right, so with one last thing with the British Rock, you said you're doing a film clip with them, or is that something separate?
Film
thing?
No, what we're doing is we've got some film clips that we're going to put into one place, and we've also got a godforsaken amount of live footage that we'd have to edit, put down, and make into a measurable package for a show. We've got some pre-recorded music that we've already done that's not released yet. And the idea is to put it all in one space. So yeah, video clips will be forthcoming. Part of the larger part of British Rock is it's a band, but it's more like an arts and theatre company. We actually produce a lot of other stuff in that's under different logos and banners. So if we can, as I said, bring it all into one spot, yeah, there'll be more visual. There'll be more film clips for sure.
And would you be touring other than around Sydney?
Yeah, 2026 we'll be touring. At the moment, we've got Beck doing a live stage show. She's doing, I can't think, it's a musical thing. Dave and I are writing the music with Les for an upcoming film, so that's kind of taking up a bit of the time. So 2026 we'll be back on the road. We've got, I think, 3 or 4 more gigs this year, and then we'll be back early 2026 for a tour.
Because there's a lot of bands that I do, like, you know, the Fleetwood Mac show, Running in the Shadows. They're doing Victoria, up in Cairns. Have you thought about that type of thing, like going?
Yeah. We're actually looking at New Zealand. That's probably a great place for us. We also think probably the warmer months heading north towards Queensland and the Northern Territory is probably the way to go. But it all ends up being a case of logistics. We've got to keep it on the road and keep it economical.
It's quite expensive.
It is if you kind of, you can make rookie errors like anything, and it can cost you. I remember the tour of New Zealand that we did. I thought if I did that again, there's a lot of things I would and wouldn't do that way. But you know, learning experience. But yeah, certainly if we can put the logistics together, and we'd stay on the road for a while.
And what about you, Grant? What's your future hold just for you besides the band?
I'm sort of looking at, I'm going to, as I said, keep pushing with the band. I'm doing a little bit of in front of camera work, some acting. I'm possibly going to do a film in the next couple of weeks. I'm just waiting for the dialogue to come through. The same one I'm doing the soundtrack for. So I think that may be taking up the next couple of months' work, and after that, probably with British Rock. And a few more original songs are coming through in sort of end of 25, 26.
So quite busy.
Yeah, like I said, boring's no fun. Come on. Ain't your life for a little while.
It's better than just sitting here.
Well, yeah. As you can see by the fidgety nature, I don't do sitting still well.
No. So, Grant, is there anything else you'd like to talk about, like that you haven't talked about?
Oh, no, just...
any other bands that you haven't said that maybe...
Yeah, I like the Sex Pistols. I think they're great, and I just think they're another glam band. How about that? That's my controversial take on life. I think the Sex Pistols are a glam band.
All right, well, thanks for that, Grant. So we've actually known each other now for 15 years, believe it or not.
A long time, Greg.
Well, thanks so much, Grant. I've been meaning to do this with you for a long time.
Yeah, we have been planning this, haven't we?
Yeah, so it's good to watch your career since I met you too. Oh. So through Zeppelin and...
Oh, thanks, man. It's honestly, it's folks like yourself and the support of people that have sort of been with me since the days of the Hobbits. You know, barely out of school. That's been wonderful. I those sort of people I can't thank enough. They've been with me right from the beginning. I mean, don't want to name names, but you know who you are, and thanks a lot. It's made my job really, really fun. And